All right, so as we've been studying four-part harmony, we've looked at the different zons interacting with each other, the tenori zons, canti zons, the interesting version, the alti zons, fa mi, and the boring version, sol sol, and the bassi zons. And as they interact, we've seen that that creates the dominant seventh chord, resolving to the tonic. We've seen that there are invertible variations of the cadences where I can put different zons in the bass. And we studied our different dissonant chords in the context of the rule of the octave. And so we saw like the Fa 6-5 resolving up to the Do 5-3. We saw the T 6-5 resolving up to the Do 5-3. We saw the Re 6-4-3 resolving down to the Do 5-3. The La 6 plus 6-4-3 resolving down to the Sol 5-3. And that special chord, the Fa 4-2, moving down to the Mi 6-3, or Passo Indietro, as we call it. So today we're going to look at some chord substitutions, and a particularly interesting and colorful one known as the diminished seventh, or what I like to call the Sol A swap. Let's go to the whiteboard. So let's start with just, nice little, let's do a nice little, let's start with a discant cadence. We'll start with our cantizans down below. So, I've got my T down here. Just like that. Cantizans. Of course, I also recognize this as the end of my rule of the octave. It's a T resolving upward to the Do. So I already know that what I've got here is I've got T6-5-3 resolving to Do 5-3 because the end of the rule of the octave. It turns out that's the cantizans cadence, the discant cadence. All right, and then I'm going to put on top of it, let's do comma style, so I'll put Fa Mi on top. And let's go ahead and add in a, Re Do. We'll put our tenori zons in. And then we're going to do our very, very boring Sol Sol alti zons. So there we go. We've put together all of the zons voices except for the bassi zons, because this is not a bass cadence. We don't have the Sol Do in the bass, so we're not going to use the Sol Do voice. And it sounds absolutely fantastic. Ti Do, Re Do, Fa Mi Sol Sol. We could make this just a little bit more interesting than this, though. Do Mi Sol Mi Do, Ti Re Fa Re Ti Do Mi Sol Mi Do. Just arpeggiating the chords so you can hear them a little bit, even without a piano in this time. But I can make this a little bit more interesting with this boring voice right here, the Sol Sol, the boring alti zons. We can make that more interesting, and I can swap the Sol for a lay. Watch this. I'm going to erase this first Sol and swap it for a lay. And while this is naturally done in minor, if I had Do, Me, Sol, Me, Do, Ti, Re, Fa, Le, Fa, Re, Ti. Oh, you hear that gorgeous dissonance there? Check it out. The Re to the Le is a tritone, the Ti to the Fa is a tritone. It's a double tritone chord. It's all minor sevenths. We call it a fully diminished seventh chord because it's all those minor thirds stacked on top of each other. And what I did then is I got rid of the sixth, the Sol, just the boring Sol Sol voice, and I put in a 7 instead. And we know that, chords of the seventh, I can do a 7-6. And if I just don't resolve it to the 6, I've done this little substitute here. And this changed it from what we call a dominant seventh chord to what we call the leading tone diminished seventh chord. It's the T7-5-3. Notice it's very similar. It's only a half step away. We did a Sol swap the Sol with a lay. So the Sol lay swap is just a way of adding a little bit of extra color, a little bit of extra darkness. Now, of course, I said this naturally occurs in minor, but there's no reason I can't use it in major. We've talked about using lay in major, what the Germans refer to as Molldur, or we call it modal mixture, modal interchange, putting a little taste of minor inside of major. Or the Russians even refer to it as harmonic or melodic major, where you use those lays in there. And so it's an absolutely great sound. And you can do it when you've got the T-Do, the discant cadence. We can do it on any of our, cadences here. If I wanted to, let's swap things around. Let's do a passo indietro. Fa, we'll do it in minor. Fa me. There's my altizans. I need a cantizans. Put a cantizans up here. Ti do. I'll put a. We'll put our nice little. We'll put the inner voice. Tenorizans going re me, and then my boring voice sol sol. There it is. The boring altizans. And of course, we know that this is coming down. We would find this in the descending rule of the octave as the fa came down to me. So I already know that this is my special fa 4-2, fa 6-4-2, resolving down to my me 6-3. Check it. Me to sol is the third. Me to do is the sixth. Yep. Fa to sol, there's our second. There's our fourth. There's our sixth. Fantastic. All right, we can make it more interesting. Again, we're going to swap that sol with a lay sol, and get that dark color of the diminished seventh chord here, that lay sol swap. And now instead of having, a fa, well, what did we change? We got rid of the 2, and it became a 3. Notice that this isn't behaving the way that a 6-4-3 chord usually behaves. Usually we expect like a lost 6-4-3 resolving down to sol 5-3. We expect that 6-4-3 to go down to a 5-3. This 6-4-3, because it's a sol lay swap, and we can recognize it because it's got that diminished seventh double tritone, all minor thirds in it. It's behaving as a substitute for the 6-4-2. It's just a substitute. All of these are substitutes for our usual rule of the octave chords. And then just resolving down to the me. Similarly, swap these around again. Let's put down, our usual re 6-4-3, resolving to our do 5-3. End of the rule of the octave. Let's do it in major this time. And we'll put in nice little cantizans ti do. We'll put in the interesting, fa mi voice, and my boring sol sol. Once again, we can. Oops, what am I doing here? We seem to have accidentally. I clicked one of the side buttons on my pen, and suddenly it started drawing lines all over the place. So, sorry about that. Live videos with technology, right? So much fun. All right, well, got rid of a lot of the scribbles on that. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the sol here, and again do that lay sol swap, lay sol, just like that. Now notice that what we have here is no longer a 6-4-3. I got rid of the re sol, and I substituted then that swap 6-5. Now normally 6-5-3 is resolved up by step, fa 6-5-3 up to the do 5-3, ti 6-5-3 up to the do 5-3. Did I say fa to sol? Fa 6-5-3, sol 5-3. I hope so. I don't know what it's the end of the week. I might have accidentally said do 5-3 twice. You know what I'm talking about in any means. I make the same verbal slips in my classroom. I'm not going to edit the video and take them out. We're human, right? Anyway, the lay sol swap, just like that. And this is not actually a 6-5-3 chord. We can recognize it because it's that diminished seventh, all tritones, all minor thirds. And it's behaving like a 6-4-3 chord because I just did that substitute. I changed the sol, which was a 4, to the lay, which is a 5. And it behaves the same as a 6-4-3 chord. In fact, a really neat thing to do with this is to, let's take it down. It's actually going to cause us some problems, but let's do it. Let's go to our minor. Let's come down. Lay, sol in minor. And we normally have, that plus 6, 4, 3. We're going to do the augmented 6 chord version. This is, you remember French augmented 6 chord. But let's put in our voices. Fi, sol. Right? And normally we would be going re, re. And we would be going do, ti. And you remember we talked about how we think in the key of sol. So this actually sounds like a raw do in the key of sol. And this actually sounds like a ti do. And this actually sounds like a sol sol. And this actually sounds like a fa mi. So I've got my cantizans and my boring cantizans, try that again. We got my altizans and my boring altizans and my cantizans, and down below my Phrygian tenorizans. And so I can do sol-sol. I can do a sol-sol switch here. Swap that sol for a lay. Now, what's lay in the key of sol? I took it up a half step, which means I'm going to take this one up a half step. And that means I don't have now a re, but I have a may. I took it up a half step. So now I've got this. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I just caused a problem here. There it is. I just caused a problem, and it's a problem that happens in the Phrygian version of this 6-4-3 change to a 6-5-3. You've got that sol lay substitute, or in this case re may substitute, resolving to the sol 5-3. Do you see it? Lay to may. That's a perfect fifth. Sol to re. That's a perfect fifth. Oh, we created parallel fifths, and that's what happens. We got to watch out for this augmented 6 chord that has the 5 in it. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to delay our resolution. Let's hold on to our upper voices for just a moment here. We're going to do a little delay here. Resolve our fi sol. Resolve our lay sol. What we're going to do is we're going to hold on to that do may as a suspension. Suspend it, and then resolve them down to the T and the re. And of course, by doing that, what we did was resolve to cadential 6-4, resolving to our sol 5-3. And so when I do this lay plus 6-5-3 chord here, this type of augmented 6 chord that has the re may substitute, I have to resolve it to cadential 6-4 so that I don't actually create parallel fifths. There's a fifth, it turns into a sixth, and then it resolves to fifth, and then that gets rid of the parallel fifths. Now, making our European stereotypes again, right? There is a culture in Europe that is obsessed with, the perfect fifth, perfection. And their quest for perfection has created significant problems if it's not handled properly. We're talking, of course, about Germany, World War II. Yeah, so this is the German augmented sixth. And it has that perfect fifth, that lay to may. The German augmented 6 is the lay plus 6-5-3. And it has to resolve. To the cadential 6-4. So that we don't end up with parallel fifths and then bad things happen, like, Hitler. So there we go. Our sol lay substitute creates all sorts of interesting chords. We can do it in secondary keys, and so the sol lay of sol changes it from re to may, creating that German augmented 6 chord, and that's a little taste of the diminished 7th chord for you. There's one more cool thing we can do with diminished 7th chords that have nothing to do with the sol lay swap. That'll be the subject of our next short video.